I should answer your question.
All right, so we're live now.
Anybody watching yet?
No. Before you share it, I'm gonna throw this on. So that's me. Oh, the dog's gonna drive me nuts. Hey, we have one viewer. That's probably you.
Yeah, I am doing.
That's good.
Yeah.
Hopefully that sounds good too. Can I shift this table a little bit?
Yeah.
Hello, YouTube. We can go ahead and share it now.
Doing that right now.
Did you share it in the group?
I did.
Okay. Oh, yeah, there it is. Perfect.
What's up, Caitlin? How you doing? All right, we got a few people here now. How's everybody going? Go ahead and let us know who you are and let us know that you're here. And we're going to get started in just a second here. We're just doing a little bit of sharing, making sure everybody knows where to find us. Hey, Caitlin, since you're here, if you want, you can post the red dot image on Facebook for us. That would be handy. Cool. Thank you.
What else talking about tonight?
X-Men, Dora Milaje, the Deadpool Effect.
Yeah. X-Men being a part
DCEU,
of the MCU.
Infinity War.
Okay, perfect.
All that good stuff.
I'm going to post this in a bunch of groups that I'm in.
This will get much more exciting in a few minutes, Caitlin, just so you know. So far, it's still just us.
Cool.
Ready to go?
I'm ready to go, yeah.
All right, let's do it. Hey, everybody, welcome to the Story Geeks Live. We are here to talk about all the fun stuff this week. We've got some great fan questions that we're going to dive into.
Yeah, we had like 3 awesome fan questions this time.
We had more than 3. We just chose 3.
That's true.
We'll have to get to other awesome ones
we
next
had like
week.
5 of them or something.
Yeah. So, but we'll start off with Geek News, I think.
We kind of have the same color on.
We do. I'm glad we talked about that ahead of time. We didn't.
We're just representing Disney.
It's not
here.
a thing.
You're,
yes.
well, no. You're DC.
I'm Warner Brothers. Over
yes,
here.
we're competing then. We're competing.
For now.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
Although I do have my.
That's a good segue because one of the things that we're going to talk about is they're just released today. I forget the guy's name, but there's a guy who is an insider. He has a vlog and stuff, and he broke the news today that there's some terrible, ominous news coming for the DCEU. And we don't know what it is. He's being a little bit smug about it, to be honest. Like, he posted this video saying he was somebody who sort of broke the news that Ben Affleck was not excited about playing Batman all those years ago.
Right.
All those years ago, whenever that was.
3 years ago.
And everybody was like, "Oh, you're stupid. You're an idiot. Like, what a dumb thing to say." And he was right.
Yeah.
So now he's all gun shy about it. Now he's like,
"Oh,
well, I know something, and I know it's 100% true, and everybody's gonna be so upset about it."
But he's not.
It's devastating news. Like, he couldn't overstate it enough. It's like devastating news.
Devastating news.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm not gonna tell you what it is because I got nailed the last time I did this.
So we're gonna discuss what it could be.
Yeah. So he said it will come out eventually.
Okay.
Don't know how long. He's like, and then he's like, he even went so far as to say, I'm gonna tell this other guy, and he'll write it down. That way, when it does come out, he can say that I told him, and like he'll know that I'm like, dude, you're so full of yourself.
That's really funny, actually.
So yeah, we don't know what it is. Everybody was speculating right off the bat that Matt Reeves was going to be leaving the Batman.
Yeah.
Which that would be bad news.
That would be bad news
for me.
Devastating.
But
devastating news.
Not devastating.
I can't imagine what would be devastating.
I don't know that he said devastating,
Okay,
but he went on forever about how bad this news is and about how people are going to be upset. And
oh, all right.
Yeah. So, but it was confirmed that is not true. Matt Reeves is not leaving the Batman.
Okay.
We're good to go there. So what else could it be? I mean, if it's that bad, is it just like the end of the DCEU altogether?
It could be. I mean, it could be the end of the DCEU. It could be. I think that if I was going to guess at something that was so bad that it was basically devastating, it would be that they would cancel movies that are already being made. So if all of a sudden they said we're canceling Wonder Woman 2, if they said Patty Jenkins is no longer involved, if they said we're not going to release Aquaman to you, that would be devastating. But even if they said we're going to reboot the DCEU, I'd be like, yeah, that's kind of what I expected you to do. So
it's kind of a good idea.
Yeah,
for the most part.
I wouldn't know how to quantify that. So
honestly, for me, even if they say the DCEU is ending, that's not devastating to me.
So long as they're gonna make DC movies.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I don't care if it's a shared universe.
Right.
I've come to expect now that Marvel are the only ones that really know how to do that well.
Totally.
And that's fine.
Yeah, totally.
They can do it. Like, we got our Justice League movie.
Yeah.
We got to kind of see what it would look like. I'd be okay if that was it.
Yeah.
And if we just go back to Superman movies and Batman movies, and
I'm totally fine with that too. I actually think that the DC characters, for me personally, tend to be better served when they're in their own feature films anyways, not when they're a part of the bigger stuff.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine. I'm trying to think of devastating though. Like, maybe Jeff Johns leaving. But
I thought about that, but would that be devastating?
No, it's not.
Do a lot of people even know that
who that is?
Yeah, I mean, I think they know who it is, but
comic book fans know who it is.
But I don't even know how instrumental he is to it.
Yeah.
He's not Kevin Feige. I know that.
No,
he's not doing things on that level.
Exactly.
So, I don't know. Caitlin says Patty Jenkins would be the saddest thing.
I think Patty Jenkins leaving, like not wanting to work with Warner Brothers, would be the most devastating thing.
Yeah.
But even more devastating than that would be if they were to say that they're not going to release Wonder Woman 2, or they're going to cancel Aquaman, or something that like has already been in development. It's like, why wouldn't you just release it? Like, you probably only have to spend like percentage wise a little bit more money to release it. I don't know.
I think I'd be bummed if we lost Patty Jenkins or Gal Gadot in that whole approach to Wonder Woman.
Yeah.
I think I would be bummed if we lost Henry Cavill as Superman. Anything beyond that, I think I'm okay with. Like, I don't need more Zack Snyder. I don't need more Joss Whedon. If we lose Jason Momoa as Aquaman, that's okay.
I mean, I would be a little bit bummed if we lost Jason Momoa as Aquaman. I'd be a little bit bummed if we lost Ezra Miller as Flash, but not as much as Jason Momoa. Yeah. Honestly. I would not, if they recast Superman and it was not Henry Cavill anymore, I mean, I wouldn't do that, but if they did it, it wouldn't be like I was devastated.
It wouldn't be that bad. And I mean, I haven't read a whole lot of stuff about this, but apparently Henry Cavill himself is
pretty done.
Kind of a sleazy.
I think I've told you that.
You've told me that, and I've seen other articles about it, and I haven't read them. I've just seen the headlines, but people are talking about it. Like,
okay. So it's not just me.
No, it's not just you.
Yeah, my wife actually, who's a big Superman fan, and obviously Henry Cavill's a good-looking dude. Like she would not. But she's like, I just get a creepy vibe from him after we saw him interviewed on a couple things. Yeah. And that's just never a good thing.
No, it's not. So,
it's very But I like him as Superman.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? Maybe I wouldn't be that big a deal if we lost him. I think I'm on sort of this Henry Cavill as Superman high. Yeah. Because we released our Man of Steel Make It Better podcast today. Yes. Go listen to that. So I was listening to that today. And I was being reminded, like, Man of Steel's so good. Yeah. Like, it's flawed, but it's so good. Yeah. Like, I want to watch it again.
I think that was, we listened to our own podcast just so we can make it better. Play on words. So this is a Make It Better Man of Steel, and I really enjoyed listening to like, remembering the discussion. As I listened in and remembered what we were talking about, I was like, yeah, that would be cool. And we even get deep into a couple subjects that are like inherent to Superman's character. I thought that was fun. It was a really fun discussion. So you can check that out on the podcast, which is on Podbean, iTunes, Stitcher, or you can even just go listen to it on our blog, which is the other thing you can do, which I haven't posted on right this second, but I will.
Nice. Yeah. But yeah, getting back to the DCEU, who knows? Like, I don't know how long it's going to take before we find out what the actual issue is. Yeah. Maybe this guy's wrong. He said in his video, like verbatim, he said, I know that this is 100% true. So he seems pretty sure about
100% true, man. You gotta be on target for that.
It's probably the end of the DCEU. Because I've also heard that if the AT&T deal with Time Warner falls through, which it certainly seems like it will. Yeah. Like everybody and their mother's trying to keep that from happening. Yeah. If that falls through, it's likely that Time Warner might sell off DC and Warner Brothers.
Whoa, that would be big.
So
there's Disney all this. Will buy that too. Maybe that'd be crazy. Can you imagine if Disney bought DC as well? Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it would be interesting.
I wouldn't want to. The only thing about that I would not like is I don't really want to see another set of superhero movies in the Marvel way of doing movies. I like the fact that DC has done a different kind of movie. Yeah. Because as much as I liked Black Panther, which everybody knows I really like Black Panther, the reality is that I don't want to see more films just like that film.
Except another Black Panther film.
Well, no, sorry. I want to see those films. I want to see every Marvel film that comes out. Yeah. But I don't want to see another competing brand of superheroes do the same thing. Yeah. Like use the same formula.
You know what I realized earlier today?
What's that?
So Marvel does the shared universe thing masterfully. Yes. It's amazing. Yeah. Everybody else that seems to try to do it fails at it. Yeah. Like DC, I don't know that I'd say they failed at it, but they're definitely struggling. we only got one universal shared dark universe or dark universe, whatever it was called.
Whatever it was, yeah. We got one movie.
We got one of those, and now that's canceled.
Yeah.
And, you know, they're talking about, like, G.I. Joe Transformers and, like,
yes,
all of this stuff.
Yeah.
And the only ones that seem to do it well are Marvel. And I've always thought, like, why is that? Is it because Kevin Feige's brilliant?
Yeah.
Is it because they found some secret formula to make any movie work?
Maybe.
Like, what is it? And today, the simplest thing occurred to me. Marvel Studios doesn't do anything else. All they do is make movies within their shared universe.
Yeah, that's true.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's all they do. No other movie studio that's trying to make a shared universe can claim that.
That's true. And that level of concentration means that when they bring in people, they can work very closely with them.
Yeah.
They're not trying to produce other movies at the same time. When they release the movies, they're not trying to market 10 movies. It's like, this is our schedule. This is what we stick to. This is how we do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point. I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah. And they had a formula for doing it when they were independent. Because they haven't always been with Disney, right? Didn't Disney acquire them?
Yeah, I think so.
Kind of early on in their existence, but they were already doing this before that.
Yeah.
So you can't, like, blame Disney for meddling or anything like that. So
No, and there are basic rules to storytelling. Like, you know, like when I've actually wrote, I did a series comparing DC and Marvel, and I wrote blog posts about it. And the reality is, if you break it down, the problems that DC has, people will be like, oh, it's too dark, or it's too this, or it's too that. Yeah, I mean, you can make that argument, but the reality is Nolan did dark films, so that argument doesn't go that far.
Yeah.
But the one thing that you can say is true about Nolan's films, and it's true about every awesome Marvel film, is that the story is really good, if not great.
Yeah.
Like the story. Like, and if you look at the DC movies fail at storytelling. So if the story's not there, you can't create the good movies. If the movies aren't good, you can't create a shared universe around them because the stories don't make sense. So you come in and you see a movie like Wonder Woman where the story is actually good, and then we all get behind it. So I think that's a big component of it too. Is like, how's their storytelling, and what kind of storytelling elements are they even adding? And story is just, it's critical to any sort of entertainment that's out there.
Yeah. I mean, why make the movie if you don't have a good story?
Yeah.
But
exactly.
What are you going to say?
Exactly.
So, by the way, we just got a nice compliment from your wife. She says, way to color coordinate, guys.
Yeah, I know. We made a joke about that earlier.
It was accidental.
Yeah.
If you guys are just joining us, we're talking about the news that came out today that there's some big, ominous, horrible news going to happen to the DCEU.
It's going to be terrible.
And we don't know what it is.
We don't know what it is.
I think what we're landing on is we kind of don't care.
Yeah.
It could kind of be whatever.
How bad could it possibly be? It's like, we're shipping the movie studio to North Korea. Now, that would be bad.
Yeah.
That'd be bad. I mean, like that. If they said something like, oh, yeah, we're going to put someone that I just really dislike in charge of it, maybe. But who would that be? Harvey Weinstein?
Brett Ratner?
That would be bad. Yeah, exactly. We're going to put Harvey Weinstein and Brett Ratner in charge of all the DC movies. Not a good idea. Let's not do that.
No.
Making movies from prison? Not something I want to see. Thank you very much.
No. And if he was in charge, there would be no women in any of those movies.
I hope not. I really hope not.
So, yeah, we don't know. We'll wait and see. We'll find out what the bad news is eventually. But for now, we know Matt Reeves is still making a Batman film. We know that Marvel is still cranking out awesomeness. And so we're good to go.
Yep. Sounds good to me.
The next thing we want to talk about, this is a smaller one, but it's intriguing. So we know Wonder Woman 2 is not in production yet, but they're in the casting phase. They're going to start production on it this summer. And they've been trying to cast Cheetah.
Yes.
Which is sort of like Wonder Woman's Joker.
Yep.
You know, it's kind of like her arch nemesis. And I think you mentioned they had talked to Emma Stone.
Yeah, I saw an article that said that Emma Stone had turned it down. Yeah.
Okay. So now they're going after Kristin Wig, which seems strange. There was an article, somebody posted, a fan did a rendering of what Kristen Wig could look like as Cheetah.
Yeah.
And it actually looks really cool.
Oh, yeah.
So, but I don't know. What do you guys think? What do you think? Can she stretch herself to play a villain? I mean, I know she was technically a villain in Zoolander too, but if you've seen that, that's not a.
It's not something you put on your resume.
Yeah.
I think so. I'm a big fan of Kristin Wig in general. I think she's a really good actress. So if she chose to be a villain, I think she could handle it. The interesting thing about superheroes, they've been doing a really good job of this lately, though, is like Hollywood has figured out how to transform physiques in like 2 months, right?
Yeah.
Because when I think of Kristin Wig, I think of someone who's really funny. I don't think of her as being intimidating, kind of at all. Like she's always playing a role where she's kind of like just really humorous and kind of cutesy, right? And so I don't picture her being threatening per se, but at the same time, let's take Wonder Woman. Like Gal Gadot is like what, 90 pounds, and yet she seems intimidating and seems tough.
If you see, what was her first Fast and Furious, the fourth one? That was her first appearance in that franchise.
Yeah,
she looks almost dead. I mean, seriously, she's so skinny.
It's somebody give this woman a cheeseburger.
I know.
What's the deal? Yeah, so so I think that they could probably make it happen. I think that the question would be, could Kristin Wig bring a level of toughness to the character? Because it's not, I don't know the character well. So the character, I'm assuming, is not like crazy. The pictures of her look like she's tough and like calculated. Not
honestly, I don't know her that well either. Okay. I'm sure there's been different renditions. I'm sure she's been more like feral, and then there's ones where she's more calculating and intelligent. Like I don't really know. Yeah, I haven't been a big Wonder Woman comic reader, so
yeah, I haven't either. So I would say as long as Kristin Wig can take on, because I don't think we want to have a comedy villain. That doesn't make any sense to me, at least with what Wonder Woman has been building up to. Yeah, and especially with that character, like it. Again, I'm just going based off the drawings that I've seen. Yeah, but it looks more like a Catwoman villain, like someone who's really intelligent and sly and crafty. So I don't know. Maybe somebody out there knows way better what Cheetah's personality is like. But that was the only thing that I'd say is kind of weird. But I like Kristin Wig, so.
But she maybe she can do it. I mean, maybe she can stretch. If you see movies like The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, she's still quirky. I'll champion that movie forever. By the way, that's like my wife and I's movie. But she's still quirky, but there's more of a depth to it. Right. So I think she could stretch. Monte, he said this on Facebook, and he's saying it again here. He'd like to see Kerry Washington.
Oh, that'd be Cheetah,
cool. And I think she'd do a really good job.
She would do a good job.
I think that's a good idea. So yeah,
I do kind of like that Kristen Wig, or sorry, Emma Stone is not doing it though, because she doesn't seem to me to be threatening either. Like it's just like I don't understand that.
I wonder. Have you ever seen? This is totally not flattering at all, but have you ever seen on Jimmy Kimmel they have the mean tweets?
Yeah.
So they did one that Emma Stone was in, and her tweet was, Emma Stone looks like she smells like cat piss.
Yeah, I know. I saw that.
I'm like, maybe that's why she doesn't want to play Cheetah.
Yeah, exactly. She's been branded. She's like, I'm not doing this.
I don't think so, but that was just a mean thing to bring up. A couple other comments. Caitlin says it's just not her strong suit, talking about Kristen playing a villain. She also says she wasn't funny in Downsizing. That's true. She was not funny in Downsizing.
Did she do a good job?
But she was good in Downsizing.
Okay.
Yeah. So, Caitlin says Kerry Washington would bring a lot of intensity. I agree with that.
She'd bring a lot of scandal. Oh, terrible. I apologize to everyone watching. That was terrible.
And I'm the dad joke guy. Whatever. Okay, in other news, this is really good news. Speaking of the MCU. Yeah. Infinity War has been moved up by a week and will now be released on April 27th.
Yeah. And I was actually talking, Monte's in the chat, but I was talking to Monte about this earlier, and he brought up a really good point. Think of all the money they wasted printing collateral and posters that say when that film's going to come out.
Oh, it's not wasted.
What do you mean? You got to replace all those, right?
Yeah, but it's still got the word out there. Like it's not. I mean, not like they needed to get the word out there, I guess. But
I do have some conspiracy theories on this.
Conspiracy theories?
Yeah.
Okay. Should we say some of the more conventional theories first?
Yeah,
Yours like way out there.
No, let's do conventional theories first.
Because some of the ones I've seen,
conspiracies.
Some of the ones I've seen have to do with, Black Panther is in its third week and still doing amazing.
Yep.
So they want to maybe spread that out.
Yeah.
And Deadpool moved up. Yep. It was going to come out, I think, in July, and it moved up to the second week of May.
Yep.
So maybe they're moving away from Deadpool to buy more time to rake in the money before he comes in.
And not only Deadpool, but then you have Solo the week right after that.
Yeah.
So you're dealing with basically a similar audience group. People who like Marvel and people who like Disney. Yeah. Pretty closely aligned with one another. Yeah. So yeah, I can see that being the case.
So another one I saw, I don't know how much they're thinking about this, but that's when it comes out in the UK. So someone said
no spoilers.
They're trying to eliminate spoilers for Americans after it coming out.
Oh yeah. All the Brits are like, yeah, Captain America died. You're like, what? Oh, what? That's no good. What are you guys talking about?
Andrew Anderson is joining us. Welcome, Andrew. We're going to talk about your question in a little while. So
ooh, yeah, the question's great.
Glad you're here. Okay, so what are your conspiracy theories?
I guess it's just one conspiracy theory. So here's my conspiracy theory for why they did this. So Black Panther is doing amazing, right? And the opening weekend was ridiculous. Week number 2 was ridiculous. It looks like week number 3 is probably going to be ridiculous. So I'm almost wondering if they... Now, I talked to Monte about this, and they have not sold tickets yet. So this is not totally true. But
I'm ready for the update. As soon as they go on sale, I'm there.
Buy. Yeah. But one of the things I was thinking about was think of all the collateral being out there. Everybody has it in their heads that it's coming out on whatever it is, May 7th or whatever it was. 4th. And they go... Hey, may the 4th be with you. That should have been solo.
I know.
That's so dumb. Yeah. Anyways, so they move it up, but think of all the people who were still planning to go on week 2. So they spread out the giant crowds and let as many people in as possibly can because other people just didn't get it quite right. But then the hardcore fans are still going to come in droves. That's my conspiracy theory.
It's not as exciting as I was expecting it to be.
I mean... When
you say conspiracy, I was expecting to hear Warner Brothers is sabotaging them, or
I know all the DC. Remember, they said Black Panther that when Black Panther was coming out, they said there was a story that came out that said all the DC fans were rating it poorly. What? All 10 DC fans that hate Marvel?
Those 13 people that protested for a Zack Snyder cut.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's not a joke. That's true. 13 people protested to have a Zack Snyder cut of the Justice League.
Protested? In what way?
They were outside Warner Brothers Studios with sign
picketing.
13 people.
I would have been the 14th person though if I'd have known that was going on.
Oh boy. So Infinity War, 1 week early, April 27th. That's awesome. Let's take a look at the comments here. Caitlin says she thought the Twitter reveal was pretty cool. I have not seen that, but the Facebook reveal was cool. She said with Robert Downey Jr. tweeting at Marvel and them replying.
Yeah. So that was cool.
So, Infinity War, go see it. Do we have to say that? Man, everybody's gonna go see that movie.
Everyone's gonna see it. Yeah.
So, but now we can say Infinity War comes out next week.
I predicted that Black Panther will be better than Infinity War, so I'm just kind of curious to see what happens because Black Panther is pretty amazing.
But the only 2 Marvel movies that I think are better than Black Panther. Are Russo brother movies, and the Russo brothers directed Infinity War.
So there you go.
So I'm kind of the other way. I'm
it's like your year.
It is. There's no Chris Nolan film. But other than that,
that's true. Yeah. All right.
Well, Joe Kosinski, he released a movie. I guess that was last year, huh? Only the Brave. Did that come out last year, technically?
Yeah, technically, yeah.
But I watched it a month ago. So for me, it's this year.
The year of Daryl.
The year of Daryl. Caitlin says Robert Downey Jr. asked them if he could watch it early, and they said yes. And he said, "How about with friends?" And yes. And he said, "How about the whole world?" So that's the Twitter exchange.
Robert Downey Jr. gets what Robert Downey Jr. wants.
I wonder if it's that simple. What if that was true?
That would be. So I'll do your movie on one condition: you release this one early.
The DM that came along with it is Iron Man 4 is a go.
Exactly. That'd be cool.
Yeah. Before we move on to questions, I'm going to throw one more thing at you that you didn't know about.
Uh-oh.
Our buddy David Graham.
Yeah.
He has been recently reviewing movies on his Facebook feed.
Oh, nice.
So he reviewed Justice League, and he hated it. He didn't like it at all.
I don't blame you.
But he had a really good idea because he says, instead of criticizing Justice League further, I'll just recommend again that you go see Wonder Woman.
Yes.
And he says, in fact, I have a great fix-it for DC. At the start of Wonder Woman 2, they should open with the universe collapsing around her, and the Flash yells at her while throwing her into a portal, "You are the best of us." And the rest of the movie is her dealing with being in an alternate reality with an alternate Justice League.
Yeah.
So it's basically a reboot, but we get to keep Gal Gadot.
I'm down with that. Why
That
not?
sounds really good.
Yeah. Contact that guy who says the devastating news.
Yeah.
Like, we'll turn it around right now.
David Graham can fix everything. So, yep. Caitlin says, don't touch my gall. Or gal. We still don't really know that officially, how to pronounce her name.
I'm pretty sure it's Gadot. Gal Gadot.
I think it's Gal Gadot.
Gal Gadot.
Does anybody know? Not that you can tell us what it rhymes with. Look it up and tell us what it rhymes with in the chat, and we'll read it out. So let's see. Caitlin pronounces it with the T.
Yeah, I think I think it is pronounced with the T.
I think Gadot is correct.
I think Gadot is correct.
Yeah. Toe?
Because it's not...
I don't know what that means, Monte. Monte just says toe. I don't know exactly what that means.
It rhymes with toe?
I get.
Godot?
Is it called Godot?
It's Gadot. I'm almost positive it's Gadot. Because she's not French.
Andrew says Gal Gateau.
Gateau?
Gateau.
Gal Gateau. Maybe so. I'm pretty sure
it's catchy.
I'm pretty sure
Gal
it
Gateau?
has
Maybe
that you
so.
pronounce the T. Unless she's not correcting late night hosts and just being like, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, that's what I'm going off of. Jimmy Fallon said Gal Gadot, and she didn't correct him, so I'm like...
Exactly. She didn't be like, whatever you say, Jimmy Kimmel. Which would have been good, but...
Whatever. It's not that important. She's great, so we'll just roll with that. So pretty soon we're going to move into talking about fan questions, but we want to do a little bit of promoting first. So what do we have coming out today?
Today we had the Man of Steel podcast, and that's where we do 3 types of podcasts. This type of podcast is a Man of Steel Make It Better. And actually, Daryl and I both really like Man of Steel, so it's just making these little tweaks here and there to kind of change the story in such a way that would have alleviated some of that story's biggest problems for us. So you can go check that out on our podcast. I have not posted the blog post about that. That will come tomorrow. And actually, we have a contribution from Ashley Pauls. Ashley is doing blog posts for us. So not only can you listen to us make Man of Steel better, you can also listen to Ashley's opinion as well. So there's a third opinion out there. And there's a comment feature on our blog. So if you want to add yours, you can do so on the blog as well.
And in fact, why don't you go ahead and listen to the episode and then come back next week to next week's live show and tell us which of our ideas did you like best?
Ooh. How
would you make Man of Steel better? He said put Jesse Eisenberg in the first movie. I'm like, what? No, that's not true.
That'd be funny, actually.
But yeah, come back. We'll talk about it next week, and we'll get your guys' opinions too.
Yeah. We also had I did a video on Killmonger. So I had some really good discussions with people about whether or not Killmonger was a villain and why. And so I just did a kind of a digging deeper into his character and saying, why is he a villain? Why is he not a villain? And it's actually a really fascinating exploration because he's not as apparent of a villain as a lot of the villains we see in films. So just breaking that down, there's also a bunch of people's opinions on that video. So I actually got from the Story Geeks community, coming out of the Story Geeks group on Facebook and stuff, I got a bunch of different quotes from people about how they felt about Killmonger as a villain. Mm-hmm. So check that one out. Yeah, he's interesting. Yeah. I say in the video, and this is not a spoiler, I believe, I'm going to need to think about this some more. I believe that he is the best villain since Heath Ledger's Joker.
Oh, so you're not even talking MCU. You're talking all time.
I'm talking all time. The only one that I think might come close is Ian McKellen's Magneto. So I'd have to think about that a little bit more. But I think that Michael B. Jordan's Killmonger is fantastic.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think at some point, we're going to do a best Marvel villains podcast.
Yes, we are.
Because we don't agree on this. And so we need time to argue about it.
Well, and also, best Marvel villains is picking from a lot of not good villains.
Yeah.
So
that's true. It's like, well, I'm not even going to say it because
we'll hash it out.
My top is your bottom. And, it's just, it's going to be fun.
I might come around on that.
Yeah. You should. You really should. Quickly going back, Caitlin posts from the Business Insider, you've probably been saying her name wrong. Her last name doesn't rhyme with the word dough. The T on her last name is not silent. It's pronounced Gadot.
Okay, so Jimmy Fallon was correct.
Yep. So Andrew Anderson says, a bit off topic here. I know that's a Star Wars poster behind you. So
there are Star Wars posters behind you over here on the top. Yep.
Yeah. And let us know which ones you're talking about specifically.
All Star Wars here too. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think he's talking about the Leia one.
Oh
maybe.
Yeah.
He says, from a distance at this angle, it kind of looks like an anime Cartman blowing a kiss.
Really? That's funny. Which one is it?
He's talking about this one.
Oh.
The TIE Fighters.
That's cool. That's awesome.
It does kind of look like that.
Maybe it is Cartman.
So does the X-Wing one over here, I don't know if you can see that one, Andrew, but does that one look like maybe dead Cartman? Because it's all X'd out.
X'd eyes.
Wow, that's interesting. All right.
That is a brand new one. We've not heard that one before, so that's good.
I think that's the first time anybody's commented on the artwork in the studio. So
I get a lot of comments outside of the actual
Angry
show.
Cartman. It's the X-Wing one is Angry Cartman. That's good. Okay, another thing we want to promote is next Sunday, March 11th.
Yeah.
We are going to have, we're calling it 2017 because it's 2017 movies, but we're going to have the 2017 Story Geek Awards. Mm-hmm. So that's going to be a live show Sunday, March 11th, probably at 7:30. We're not sure yet.
Probably 7:30. Yeah, confirm the time.
Yep, we'll have a couple of guests with us. We're not quite sure yet who that will be, but we have some good options.
Yeah.
And we have 10 different categories, and it's basically our version of the Oscars. It's the Oscars for movies that we all actually love.
Yeah.
So
we realize
Logan might win an Oscar. We'll see.
Yeah,
Jay will be pissed if that happens, but
not pissed, just confused. Very confused.
So that means a couple of things. One, it means we want you guys to be there and watch with us. It'll be right here on our YouTube channel. And the other thing we want you to do is vote. It's not too late to vote. If you go to our Facebook group, there's several links in there for a form you can go to, and you can vote. We've got 10 categories, 5 nominees in each category, and we want you all to vote. So you have, I think tomorrow is the last day.
Yeah.
March 2nd, because we need time to prep all the winners. Jay and I do not know who won.
We will be surprised.
We actually are having envelopes made for us, and it'll be revealed to us when it's revealed to you.
Yep.
So,
and the whole point was we watched the Oscars, and you watch all these movies win awards, and you're like, I didn't even really like most of these movies, right?
Yeah.
Like, so then I'm a big fan of film, so it's like, what about the geek movies that came out? I want to give an award to the best actor in a geek film. So we're doing that. We started it, and we're like, we'll award them to him.
Yeah,
so.
This is the second time we did this last year, and it was great. So.
And this year we've actually been way more sophisticated with it. So this year we actually had a nominating committee. Mm-hmm. So last year it was just Daryl and I. We just like here, this is ones I liked. But this year we actually had a committee, and they narrowed it down, and then we actually are asking you to pick the winners from that, which is super cool.
Yeah. So go to our Facebook group, find that form, and vote, and that'll be a great show. March 11th, Sunday, March 11th.
Yeah.
And I think that's it for stuff that we have to promote. So,
that's
can you think of anything else?
I mean, you can go watch my 2 Reasons Logan Doesn't Deserve an Oscar video, which I posted. I got an advertisement from the people who did Logan saying, like support the fact that Logan deserves an Oscar. And I'm like, well, I posted a link. And then I got a bunch of people that were like really angry at me for doing that. And I'm like, well, what are you gonna do?
Yeah, it is quite a bold thing to say.
Yeah, but I mean, here's the reality. That's nominated for a writing Oscar, and I am a writer, and I'm watching the film going, this doesn't work. Like you can't do that. Like, anyways, you can go watch the video and see why I think that. But here's the thing. I'm not trying to detract from other people who do love it. What I'm saying is that you can love a movie and it be somewhat technically, from a writing perspective, somewhat technically not quite correct. You can love that. That's totally fine. I'm not trying to take away from your enjoyment. But when I see technical problems with writing, then that bums me out. And I see like Pixar does like rarely does that every once in a while. Cartoon. Yeah. But like but you know, like from a writing standpoint, I like to I can't turn that part of my brain off very effectively. Yeah. So
and your complaints are legit.
Yeah, I think they're somewhat legit. We're doing a Make It Better Logan is coming out next week.
That's right.
So we actually there's a chance for me to say, here are the problems I had with Logan, and then here's what I would have done to change those things. And then Daryl also changes those things along with Justin Weaver, which is great. So
yeah. So you can watch the Oscars this Sunday night and see if Logan wins an Oscar. Maybe it will. and then you can listen to our podcast next week. Yep. So we're going to move into some questions that we got from you guys and talk about some stuff here. Normally we try to end around 8:15, but we don't have a guest coming in for the podcast tonight, so we can kind of take some extra time. So we're going to dive into this stuff.
So yeah.
So our first question comes from Andrew Anderson. So I know you're watching. Thanks for sending this question in. So
this is a fantastic question.
This is, and I'm going to read it verbatim. So he says, how will the Deadpool effect change movies in the next decade? So I watched The Last Jedi over the weekend, and there was a lot more sarcasm and irony in it than in previous Star Wars movies. The trailer for Solo looks to be the same feel. Thor Ragnarok was significantly more difficult. Wow, I can't read. Was significantly more like Deadpool than the first Thor or any of the other MCU movies with the exception of Guardians. So will the Deadpool effect last? So this whole thing where movies are getting more lighthearted, more sarcastic, more edgy, more trying to appeal to that R-rated audience. Yeah. What do you think?
So, I don't love Deadpool as a film. And the biggest reason for that doesn't have anything to do with the R rating, so to speak. But it has to do with I'm not a person who would tell you that we should not make movies about difficult topics. I think we should make movies about difficult topics, but I think we should come to conclusions about difficult topics. What I mean by that is, I think we should say, I believe that extreme violence is right or wrong, or I think the movie should say something about what that means. And I think that what Deadpool does is Deadpool subverts all of those narratives by saying, here's extreme violence. It seems like this may be problematic, but who cares? Here's violence against women. It seems like that could be problematic, but who cares? And it's just subverting narratives so that it doesn't come to any conclusions. And I think this is a very much a byproduct of a like postmodernism society, which is now to a point to where we see relativistic truth being very much something that is talked about in the marketplace. So my truth is my truth and your truth is your truth, and there's no such thing as absolute truth. And when you get that kind of engagement with the world, you get stories that don't take a stance on anything, or they make fun of things that maybe some people consider good, because they go, well, we can't figure out what's actually good, so we'll make fun of that thing just because people believe that, and we don't know if that's true or not, so let's make fun of it. Yeah. And so I think that we are likely to see over the next decade that become more a reality, because if you look at some of the statistics, usually people who are involved in organized religions, whether that be Christianity, whether it be Muslim, whether it be whatever faith tradition you come from, even if your faith isn't based exclusively on a deity like Buddhism or something like that, you tend to have like strong value systems, right? And I'm not saying that atheists or agnostics don't, but there are much more of a relativistic, meaning I have my strong belief system, but it's mine. And you can't tell me to believe that or not. And so I think what we're seeing is if you see the increase in people who are choosing agnosticism or atheism, that is by definition them saying, if I'm going to create a movie, I'm not going to live into other value systems. I'm going to show you the ridiculousness of those value systems, which, by the way, is a fair thing to do. But I think because we see that in the marketplace, the statistics tell us that there's less of an emphasis on organized religions. In fact, I had somebody on my feed the other day saying, they said, I hate organized religions. If that's a current of the marketplace, then what we're going to see is we're going to see these value systems being challenged. But as opposed to choosing a value system, they'll probably just criticize the existing value system and then back away, which is what Deadpool is doing.
Yeah.
So I know that's like a really intense way of answering that question, but I feel like that's pretty accurate to where the marketplace is right now. And I think that that's really good because I think that it gives us a chance to talk about these things in more depth. Because, I mean, we did a whole podcast on Deadpool. Why are we doing a podcast on Deadpool? Because I think we should come to a conclusion on extreme violence. Is extreme violence good or is it bad? We should come to a conclusion on violence against women. So if the movies aren't completing that thought for us, it is on us to complete those thoughts.
Yeah.
And guess what? I hope that you have a different opinion than I have, because maybe we can teach each other something about the way the world works that we can uncover that we hadn't uncovered before. So personally speaking, I think that it's more likely to continue going in that direction. And I'm actually not necessarily really opposed to that. Now, I'm not a big fan of Deadpool, but I am a big fan of Watchmen. And I think that, there's some narratives there that are deconstructing things. I like some of the conclusions that Watchmen comes to. People are dirtbags. But I do like movies, and I do prefer movies where there are conclusions that are arrived at. But I think we can come to those conclusions in discussions.
Yeah.
So I'll stop ranting about it. But that's what I think. What do you think?
I mean, I think it's likely to continue as well, partially because of this effort to avoid superhero fatigue. We've been getting superhero film after superhero film for almost 10 years straight now.
Yeah.
And there's, 8 or 10 of them coming out a year at this point?
Oh,
it's crazy.
Yeah.
I heard the other day that Fox, as long as they're still themselves, before they get bought out, they're going to try and release 3 X-Men films a year.
What?
For
3 X-Men films?
Like X-Men related films.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
New Mutants, Cable, Deadpool, whatever it may be, in like 2019 and 2020.
That's crazy.
And so it's just going to keep getting worse. And I think this is a way that they're trying to avoid superhero fatigue.
Yeah.
Is by doing genre shifting and changing things up a bit. Let's make some rated R movies. Let's make a horror movie.
Yeah.
Let's make comedies. And that's okay with me as long as the point is still to tell good stories.
Yes.
So, and part of my problem with Deadpool, granted I've not seen the Deadpool movie, don't intend to. He's also not my favorite character. And I don't like the spirit that Ryan Reynolds is sort of functioning under. Because a lot of this is him getting back at Hollywood for keeping Deadpool down for so long.
Yeah.
And I just don't like that spirit. But I would question whether or not Deadpool is all about storytelling or if it's just all about genre bending or genre pushing.
Yeah. I think it's so interesting because as a writer, some of the things that they tell you are like, they say, come up with a premise for your film, right? Like, because of this conclusion happens. Like this, you add this, and you get, and so you take characters along a journey. That's the whole point of storytelling, is to take how do characters respond to stimuli, and how do they go through an arc, or you can also do plot-driven things that don't deal with character arcs as much, but a plot is unraveled. But those things, the whole point of storytelling is to give our brains a way of understanding and interpreting the world. This is Lisa Cron, the Wired for Story. I always talk about that book because she talks about the human brain is wired for storytelling in that way. Well, the brain wants you to come to conclusions. Deadpool comes to the conclusion, because Andrew said it really well, is that he talked about sarcasm. Well, it comes to the conclusion that you can't determine anything. That's the conclusion, is that you can't actually determine much of anything.
Yeah.
And I think that is...
So screw it.
So screw it. Yeah, so screw it. Doesn't matter. Whatever.
Yeah.
In fact, I think what Deadpool does is it says, these things might be worthy of being talked about, but I'm not going to bother.
Yeah.
And I think that that's one conclusion you can come to, and that's a conclusion that film comes to, but I want to see stories that come to other conclusions.
Yeah.
And I think we'll get those. I mean, Pixar taps into global themes that every human can go, oh man, I relate to that thing.
Yeah.
Right? So maybe Pixar is kind of the antithesis of what Deadpool's doing. But I think that there's room in the marketplace for those different types of films. I wouldn't want to see just pure Marvel MCU films with no other. I want to see Logan's. I want to see. I mean, Deadpool's not my speed, but I want to see Logan's. Right. I want to see The Dark Knight. I want to see Watchmen. There's room in the marketplace for those things, and I think that it gives us more of a chance to discuss these deeper themes that come up.
And a lot of it is simply getting different voices telling these stories.
Exactly.
Like, we get Ryan Coogler's voice, we get Black Panther.
Yep.
We get Taika Waititi's voice, we get Thor Ragnarok.
Exactly.
And they're not trying to subvert anything per se. They're just making a movie that's honest to who they are.
Yep.
And so we get a different flavor, which is really cool.
And that's the part that makes such for good discussions. Like, if you told me, like, do you want to see Kirk Cameron films the rest of your life? I'd be like, no. I'm going to move to China. I'm going to learn to speak Chinese and move to China. I don't want to see Kirk Cameron films. But yet, I think Kirk Cameron can have a voice in the marketplace. But if he does, I also want, what is it, Tim Miller that did Deadpool? I want him to have a voice too. Because if the viewpoints aren't being expressed, we live in a country where we're allowed to come to the table and discuss these things. That's what we do with the Story Geeks. We discuss difficult topics. That is part of the point of being a human being and figuring this thing out. It's called life.
Yeah.
So I want there to be different perspectives. Now, you might say, I don't want to see Deadpool, and I go, yeah, if that's something you don't want to do, then don't do it. That's totally fine.
Yeah.
But at least we have the opportunity if we choose to.
Yes, I do wish. I don't know. I guess I see that if you're gonna make a movie about difficult subjects like that, which I agree people should do.
Yeah.
I do feel like there should be a level of responsibility that comes along with it.
Sure.
And I don't feel like Deadpool. I haven't seen it, but from the trailers and all the marketing, I don't feel like they're exhibiting a whole lot of responsibility.
Well, they're not, and I think that's what makes it worthy of discussion. Because we can now say, are they being irresponsible? So, in going back to Andrew's question, like, we literally say, is this taking over this movie, and why is it taking over this movie? And then why are people loving it?
Yeah.
Why do people love that that's true?
Yeah.
And that's something that we need to say, yeah, we should talk about that, right?
Yeah.
Because otherwise, if the movie wasn't created, people would still feel that way, but they'd have no outlet for it. And we want them to have an outlet for it so that we can talk about it.
Yeah. Jessica says, in light of tragedies like Parkland, Florida, movies like Deadpool that make light of violence are problematic.
Well, that's what one of the conclusions you come to is that at what point is extreme violence okay, or is it never okay?
Yeah.
And I think you have to question a character who doesn't seem to value life. Yeah. And Deadpool doesn't seem to do that. So, or he at least picks and chooses whose lives he wants to value and whose he doesn't. I was actually more offended by the trailer for Deadpool 2 than I was by Deadpool. Because it was the whole joke about the guy getting robbed. The guy's getting robbed and he gets shot, and then Deadpool stumbles over. He's like, "Well, too bad." He lays down on a dead body, and I think that there's a ridiculousness to that it's a cartoonish, right? But I also think that if someone did that in real life, that person is a complete psychopath. That person is a sociopath, and I think there's. Should we treat it like a cartoon? Maybe we should treat it like a cartoon. Maybe we shouldn't worry about that. But when I see that, I have a level of discomfort that says, I think they're trying to get me to laugh, but that not
shouldn't
funny.
Be funny.
Yeah, exactly. And I think they always with Deadpool they push it just far enough because I think it's actually you could convince me that it's cartoonish if he doesn't make it to the guy and the guy gets shot and he's like, oops, and then cut trailer. Yeah. But he doesn't do that. He gets out of the phone booth, he walks over, he lays down on the guy and eats like a banana or something. I can't remember what it is that he eats, but so I'm like, my wife says that I step over lines. That to me breaks a couple of barriers that I'm uncomfortable with.
Yeah. And for me, I've said before, like the thing with Deadpool is I'm fine with and even in the comics, like I'm fine with the meta thing. I'm fine with satire. I'm fine with making fun of stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't have to read it. I don't have to watch it.
Yeah.
It's making fun of something that I love.
Yeah,
you know?
right.
Like if somebody comes up to me and says, "Oh, acoustic guitars suck. They're lame." I'm like, "Well, okay, you're free to say that, but I'm not going to stand next to you."
Right,
you know what I mean?
right,
I'm not going to listen to it.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Monte says he really wants an espionage Ant-Man film directed by Steven Soderbergh.
There you go.
That would be interesting. So, there you go. The Deadpool Effect.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Great question. I really enjoyed that question.
Let's move on to a question from Anthony Holdier, who is one of the hosts of the Story Cauldron podcast.
Also a philosopher and a very intelligent person.
He is. He says, should the X-Men join the MCU, and how?
Here's the struggle I have, and I'll just make this a short answer, because otherwise
when you preface it like that, it doesn't sound like it's going to be a short
I know, it doesn't
answer.
sound like it. I am not the biggest fan of ensemble films. So there are people that say that the original Avengers is their favorite film. I think if you go back and listen to our podcast with Justin
There's a
Weaver,
lot of them, yeah.
Yeah, that's his favorite comic book movie of all time. I think when you put that many characters in a film, it's a great buddy movie, good time, popcorn. I'm gonna eat popcorn and it's gonna be fun. It's like that's not my kind of film. My kind of film is Batman Begins, The Dark Knight. Like that's my kind of film.
Mm-hmm.
The Watchmen, where you're like, I don't think I can eat popcorn right now.
Yeah.
Like this is saying something. I need to pay attention. So to say, would you take a bunch of characters and then add a bunch more characters? I don't really feel like that's necessary for me. So yeah. I would say that they'll probably do it, right?
Probably.
But I wouldn't do it.
I'm on the other side. I'm all for it. In fact, I'm hoping for it.
Really?
Yeah, because, I mean, I've really enjoyed a lot of the X-Men movies that have come out.
Sure.
Some of them are stinkers. You know, The Last Stand, Apocalypse, not so good. But
Apocalypse is terrible.
But some of them have been great. Like Logan, mostly, was great. Days of Future Past, I thought was great. Mm-hmm. First Class is amazing.
Oh, First Class is one of the best, yeah.
Yeah. So I've really enjoyed what they've done. I've really enjoyed Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. But it seems like it's done. It seems like it's coming to a close.
Yeah.
And there's some things about it that I do not like.
Yeah. Like,
for instance, how they've treated Cyclops.
Oh, yeah.
Making him kind of a wuss to begin with and then just killing him off. Like, it's just not cool.
Yeah. This guy sucks.
Yeah. He's only one of the most important ones. So I would really love to just see a new version. Like, I feel like we're dragging on too much with
I can see that.
what Bryan Singer started.
Yeah.
So, and especially when you look at things being made like Deadpool and New Mutants and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Not that those things are bad, but they're clearly trying to freshen it and distance themselves from where it started.
Totally.
And it's like, well, then let's just, just kill it and start over.
Yeah.
And for all of the hardcore Deadpool fans, he can continue.
Yeah.
Deadpool is a meta character.
Yeah.
It's fine for him to break the rules. Let him be the one character that carries over.
I know that there's a lot of people that love the rated R Deadpool, but I laughed a lot in Deadpool.
Yeah.
If you made a PG-13, you can make a PG-13 Deadpool with Ryan Reynolds and put him in the movie every once in a while in an X-Men and Avengers film, and it will work. It will work. Like there's no way that it doesn't work. It will be fine.
Yeah.
And he'll go on his Twitter feed and then curse and all that stuff and make fun of Disney and all kind. It'll be fine, right? Yeah. So I don't see any reason why you couldn't add him in that way.
Yeah.
And then do movies that are released under the 20th Century Fox label.
Yeah.
And handle it that way. It's totally fine. You can make all of those things happen.
Yeah.
If you try hard enough.
And I mean personally, I'd really like to see like the Avengers and the X-Men and stuff like that.
X-Men versus Avengers.
I do like these ensemble movies. I'm good with that stuff.
Yeah.
So I think that'd be really fun. I'd love to. And you get little tiny crossover things that would be really cool, like Black Panther. Yeah. There's a point at which Black Panther's wife is Storm, who is an X-Men character.
Right.
So we could get little things like that.
That's cool.
We could get Professor X's interactions with Tony Stark and T'Challa.
Yeah.
And like, there's a lot of this stuff that goes on in the comics that would be really cool to see on screen.
Yep.
But who knows? We'll see.
I do agree with that, but I just am nervous about it.
Yeah, I know. We've got some comments here. Andrew Anderson says simply no. He says it'll ruin the timeline if they existed. They should have been there all along and been referenced before. I can see that, although I feel like that could easily be.
I'm telling you, here's what's
written in an appropriate way.
This is what's going to happen, because I think he's right about that. But here's
Yeah.
what's going to happen: they're going to do a reboot. They will reboot it all. Why? Because they kind of have to.
Like the whole MCU?
Yeah. They're going to have to, because they're going to end up with all of the major characters that have made these movies what they are going to be recast.
Yeah.
They're going to have to recast them. So at the point that they recast, they're going to go, you know what we should do? What we do in the comics every 2 to 3 years.
They're doing it again right now.
I know.
And they're not even coming up with some creative name for it. They're literally calling it a fresh start. It's like, really?
That's funny, actually. So I'm just saying, I think that what they're going to do is they're going to just reboot the thing from the beginning.
Yeah.
They're going to call it like, they're going to say that something happens in the timeline, boom, reset everything.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, probably. I mean, they could definitely go the legacy route.
Yeah.
And have like Bucky be the new Captain America. Like you could go that route, but just like it does in the comics, eventually that'll tire and people will want to see Steve Rogers and stuff like that all over again.
Exactly. And you run into these issues where now you have Bucky is now older, and so you can't.
Yeah.
So you're going to introduce a new actor, but the actor's 10 years younger. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard.
But how fascinating would that be to see? Like, let's say they lean into that.
Yeah. And
they show us what superheroes look like with real time applied to them. Because we don't get that in the comic books.
Not very
like
often.
Batman's been in his 40s for 80 years. I mean, like we just you don't get that stuff, you know?
True, yeah.
Like,
and I like when they do like the Frank Miller story, Dark Knight Returns, or whatever.
Yeah.
Like that's cool. Like I want to see old Batman. How's he dealing with life?
Yeah.
You know? I like that.
So what if the MCU did really push that envelope?
Yeah.
Maybe introduce characters as these major characters who aren't even in the comics.
Yeah.
Like do something wholly new.
Tony Stark is like there's tapioca pudding socks. You know? They gotta do something else.
Andrew Anderson says, wouldn't Stark Industries have developed weapons to deal with mutants? That's a good question. Wouldn't you like the answer to that question? I really would. Some other comments. Caitlin I think she's in your camp. She says, too many characters, too little screen time. She doesn't enjoy that. Monte says Soderbergh does a great ensemble film, just saying. I really want Soderbergh to do superhero movies. That's cool.
Avengers 11.
Yeah.
Isn't that? No, that's not Soderbergh.
Avengers. Yeah, no, he did.
11?
Yeah. Monty says they could just have Thanos reset everything after wiping half the life in the universe for death.
There you go.
That's true. With those Infinity Stones, you can do anything.
That's true.
I was looking at a comic the other day that like laid out specifically what the power of each one is.
Yeah.
It's basically godhood. I mean, you can do anything.
Anything you want to do.
It's crazy. Andrew says a Deadpool cameo in Infinity War would be funny. Maybe him walking across the screen, looking at the viewer, being surprised, and then quickly moving on.
That'd be awesome, yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So, I want it to happen. You don't want it to happen.
Well, it's not that I don't want it to happen. I just think that you're playing with fire when you do that.
Yeah.
So if you can play with fire really well, which Kevin Feige does, right?
He does. It's
so
true.
Maybe it'll be great, but I'm nervous about it.
Yep. Okay, let's move on to our last question. This comes from Kay to Sarah. So, and it's about the Dora Milaje from Black Panther. Real quick, Monty says the new narrative of the Marvel Comics is that we're in a simulation and the stones embody the source code. Whoa.
You're in the Matrix now. Yeah, exactly.
So Kate's question has to do with Black Panther. She says, since Wakanda isn't an all-female society like Themyscira, nor is it a matriarchal society, why is their King's Guard 100% female? So talking about the Dora Milaje.
Is there a comics accurate answer to this?
Yes. It is comics accurate. I mean, that's the simple answer.
Yeah.
But why is it comics accurate?
That's what I'm wondering. Yeah. Is there an answer
where does
to
it
that?
come from? So, I meant to do a lot more research than I actually did. If
Yeah.
if you guys know answers to this, shoot them at us. I've got a little bit here. So I found a Time magazine article that talks about it. Monte says because women are dope. That's fair. So it is comic accurate that the Dora Milaje exists, and trying to get back to where the article talks about it. So it was put into place by Christopher Priest, who took over as the writer for Black Panther in 1998.
Who appears to be one of the favored writers of this series.
Yeah, in fact, I was listening to the ESO podcast.
Oh yes,
More friends of ours. They were doing a Black Panther review that came out a couple days ago, and they had a guy that they were talking to who was like a lifelong Black Panther fan.
Oh, awesome!
Like back to Kirby.
Oh,
like
wow.
all the way back. And his favorite runs are Jack Kirby's run and Christopher Priest's run.
Yeah, that seems to be one of the most popular ones. Yeah.
So, but this magazine, this article that I'm looking at, it's from time.com. Title of it is "There's a True Story Behind Black Panther's Strong Women. Here's Why That Matters." So I'm just going to read a little bit. Hopefully that's not too boring.
Silently.
Yes. Yeah, silently. So, in the film, the fictional Dora Milaje, adored ones, is what that means. And all
that sounds kind of Harvey Weinstein-y, though. The king sets up some adorable ones. What is that about?
Gosh, you got to take it there already?
I'm just saying.
Dude.
It just sounds weird.
They are an all-female military group that protects the king and in the fictional nation of Wakanda. And they are an obvious example of female strength. So they were introduced by Christopher Priest in 1998. And since then, they've become much more central to the plot. So 98, that is 32 years after Black Panther was introduced.
Okay.
So in their initial appearance, they're described as female bodyguards, deadly Amazonian high school karate chicks. One of the narrators described them as that. Who were also the king's wives in training. So many have speculated about the inspiration behind these warriors. It is clear that one of their main antecedents was the famous all-female African military corps of Dahomey, West Africa, whom the French dubbed Dahomey Amazons, after female warriors in Greek mythology.
Ooh, that's cool.
So some experts believe that the first such regiment, which emerged sometime in the 17th century, comprised of hunters called Geppetto. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that right. While others contend that they were recruited among the king's many wives. So there is historical precedent for this.
Hi, Angie.
Yes. Hey, Angie. So, I mean, this article's really long. I'm not going to sit here and read the whole thing to you. But it does seem like there is some historical African precedence for these characters.
That's awesome.
But think about this coming out now.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like it wasn't written specifically to address the way the world is today.
Right.
But it certainly does beautifully.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think what's interesting about it is those are some of the best characters in Black Panther. I mean, the Dora Milaje are amazing characters, and Okoye is magnificent. And I think that obviously, like, Nakia then dons their armor at one point in time, which is super cool. That armor is really amazing. It does seem like it may be a patriarchal society just from this one film, but I also know that I believe it's true that in other comics, other females have taken on the role of Black Panther. Which
his sister has. Shuri has.
Right. So I don't know that necessarily means that she was also queen, because those two can be separate things.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that it's probably not as patriarchal of a society as we've been led to believe based on the MCU thus far. And I get the impression based on what I've seen in the MCU that is actually a pretty utilitarian, or I should say, I don't know what word I want to use, but a society that values all people and that really takes care of the society itself. Maybe utopian is a better word for it. And I think so. I would doubt that there's a reason that the guards have to be female, but I would doubt that they're saying that like women couldn't be rulers of Wakanda, I don't think they're going to say that.
Yeah. There's another part of this article that sort of addresses that. It says, not only is this history clearly reflected in the fictionalized Wakanda, but so is the idea of a political system wherein men and women control political institutions jointly. Though the nation has a king, he depends on central female characters like his mother, Angela Bassett, Lupita Nyong'o's Nakia, his sister Shuri, and then Okoye. So as numerous Africanist historians have attested, this system also shows up in the true history of pre-colonial African reality. For example, John Henrik Clarke explained in his essay on African warrior queens in Black Women of Antiquity, in the years before colonialism, Africans had produced a way of life where men were secure enough to let women advance as far as their talents would take them.
That's cool.
Which is super cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think the movies are going to handle that well. I just don't think we've seen it yet. In the introduction
I
of
think
these
they handled
characters.
it well in this one.
Well, I mean, I'm saying that there's the indication that, like, for example, you would say, does it go from T'Chaka to T'Challa, or should it go to the Queen?
Yeah.
Which, by the way, Angela Bassett's one of the most regal people that on the face of the earth.
Yeah.
Like she's like instantly you look at her and you're like, yep, that's a queen. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
instantly. So I do think that like they didn't say that in the film. They didn't say that, and I don't know T'Challa's mom's name. I don't remember it. But
it doesn't say here.
yeah, but they didn't say that character was going to then rule. But I don't think that's what we were supposed to take from that. I don't think we were supposed to get that message.
Yeah, that's true. And there's a few comments here. So Angie has a few great comments. She says, it seems it's an honor to be the last line of defense before the king.
Mm-hmm.
They are possibly just as strong and respected as him, but they don't have the royal blood or the heart-shaped herb.
Yeah.
Which...
That's a great point.
This is totally... I think I said this to you while we were watching the movie.
Yeah.
But with the accent that they use in the movie, when they say heart-shaped herb... Can I say what it sounds like to me?
Yeah, go for it.
It sounds like they're saying hot shit herb.
Yeah.
I don't know. That totally...
Demonetized.
Yeah. Sorry for that.
We don't have monetization.
Sorry for that colorful language. And then Angie says, it doesn't seem like anyone worships the king. They're all equal. He's just trained to be a leader. And then Shuri is trained to be a scientist. And Monte points out that Shuri turned down the chance to fight him in the movie.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, that's true.
So...
Yeah.
Oh, and then Angie says, I think they really stress that he was raised to be a leader. So maybe his mother isn't the ruler because she wasn't necessarily qualified.
Ooh, that's a great point.
And I know there's this whole thing, too, where you typically, to become king, you have to challenge the existing king.
Yes.
Now, T'Challa didn't do that, obviously, because his father was killed. And so he...
Well, it seemed like it was just open for... It was open for any of the tribes to take it, and he said,
Yeah.
"I'll take it if nobody else takes it."
Yeah.
And then the dude from the I forget the name of the tribe, Umjobu or whatever. M'Baku comes over and they fight, and of course M'Baku loses.
Yeah.
So I can't do too many spoilers.
Yeah.
I don't want to get into spoilers, but there's a sense that it's not predetermined who the king will be.
And I'm not even sure... Like, I read a little bit of the comics before I saw the movie, which was my first time reading them. But in the comics, it seems pretty clear that King does not equal Black Panther.
Correct, yeah.
They're not always the same person.
Yeah.
And it seems like in the comics, the challenge is more to become the Black Panther, not necessarily to become King.
That makes sense.
In the movie, it seems like they're sort of lumped together.
Interesting.
So I don't know.
We'll see how they take that those scenarios and play them out over the MCU over time.
Yeah.
It'll be really interesting.
So these were really great questions, you guys. If you have other questions like this, deep stuff that we can dive into and talk about on these live shows, go to the Facebook group and just throw a post in there. We will see it, and we'll keep track of them, and then we'll talk about some more of them next week.
Yeah, we had some other questions that were great questions that we couldn't even get to today.
Yeah.
In fact, we're already way over time just because we're having fun talking to you guys.
Yeah.
But I think I really enjoy the intense questions because we can react to trailers and stuff, and that's cool.
Yeah.
And I want to react to trailers. But then when you guys ask the deep questions, that allows us to get into topics because, I think that one of the ways that we're probably going to take these live shows, I was talking to Daryl about this earlier, and Jessica kind of brought it up in the chat, is that like in real life, there was a horrific shooting in Parkland, Florida. And there are geek implications to that shooting because we hear in the marketplace that, okay, well, it's because people are playing violent video games. To Andrew's question, and Jessica's point in the comments, is this because we're watching more movies like Deadpool, right? Like, well, that's a question that we should deal with. There's all kinds of answers to that question, but it's a question that geeks should be dealing with. We shouldn't just be ignoring it. So as the story geeks, what we have to look at is what narratives, what are our narratives telling us? What is the world doing? And how do we bring these two things together? So I really enjoyed the deep questions. Thank you for bringing those deep questions. That's awesome.
Yes, and keep it coming because we'll talk about some more next week. Monte post, did you guys see my Earth in Star Wars post? I saw it. I admittedly have not read it yet. But guys, go to the Facebook group. Monte posted an article in there talking about a potential mention of Earth in the Star Wars universe.
What?
Yeah. So go check that out, and maybe we'll talk about that on next week's show. So yeah, go look at that. We'll talk about it next week. And that is our show.
That's it for today.
As we said before, Man of Steel, Make It Better podcast came out today. Go download that, listen to it.
Check it out.
Come back next week and tell us what you think. Tell us if you have a better idea, and we'll talk about that. And then the Story Geek Awards will air on Sunday, March 11th here on YouTube.
Yep.
And I'm also going to be sending out an event, a Facebook event for that one. So keep an eye out for that, and then you can keep track of everything.
Yeah, you're on YouTube right now. We're going to close down because we're going to go record a podcast. But you can go watch the 2 videos we've talked about. So you can go the 2 reasons why Logan doesn't deserve an Oscar, or if you go with the is Killmonger really a villain? You can go with that video too. Those are both on our YouTube channel, and you're already there, so that's easy.
Yeah, and I'm going to say one more thing because I like the segue. Andrew Anderson says, well, E.T. was a species in the Star Wars movies, and he came to Earth.
True.
What do you say to that?
Andrew wins the chat, maybe.
The real reason I bring that up is because you mentioned E.T., and right now we're shutting down because we're going to go record a podcast on 80s geek movies.
Yeah, so. Best 80s geek movies. Yes. And I love this conversation. I've been excited for this conversation all day long. So thanks for watching, guys. We really appreciate you.
Yep. Time right here at 7:30. Thank you.